Welcome to The Crunch with Crib. I'm Jess, and each episode I'll be talking with some of WA's best real estate agents and business people to find out what makes them tick and what lessons they've learned on their journey to success. Anyone who knows Boyd Fraser knows he's a brilliant storyteller, an excellent auctioneer, and has one of the best heads of hair in real estate. So how could we not invite him on The Crunch? As expected, Boyd wasn't short of a story, and we chatted about everything from completing a successful auction with only one person present to selling the family estate of the King of Nauru. I hope you enjoy listening to this one as much as I enjoyed recording it. Boyd.
Hello.
Welcome to The Crunch.
I love The Crunch. I love the room.
Do ya?
Very, very
The
snazzy.
zoo, the aquarium.
Mm.
So we've really calmed our farm since you first walked into the office.
It was a hell of an entrance.
It was an entrance.
Besides my own entrance, of course, but no, it was fantastic to see the new office. It's beautiful.
So thank you. I want you to tell me to start with, you were just telling me before, I had you pegged as a fruiterer in an early life. And I believe that was wrong.
Well, I know a lot of Italians and Greeks, but which are mostly fruiterers, yes. Yeah.
Tell me how you started your public speaking life.
Okay. All right. Well, many, many years ago, back in 1987, my family had a car dealership in Melbourne, in Queen Street, across the road from the Victoria Market. So, long story short, started my career there as an 18-year-old washing cars and eventually got into selling cars. But I do love cars, so it's in my blood. And I met a guy a couple of doors down from the car dealership in a shop, and it was called Examples, and it was all of the seconds and all of the sort of factory sort of imperfections with clothing. And he said, "Look, can you help me try and sell these clothes, because I'm just not getting the sell through." So I said, "Well, what we need to do is let's get some of your clothing out of the shop and put it into the markets, because there's stalls in there."
Okay. So the Victoria Street Market.
So the Queen
Victoria Market.
Market. So next thing you know, he set up the stall amongst fruiterers and butchers and all the rest of it. And I tell you what, I was as nervous as a bride on a wedding night. I've gone out there, and all of a sudden, I had to get out there in the aisles and start selling these T-shirts and shorts and ladies' dresses and all the rest of it. So I sort of learnt that to get things sold and to get the attention, you've got to get louder than the other one, the other people beside you. And I think that was the beginning of the start of the auction career that I'm currently doing.
So how did you find your way from Examples fashion into real estate?
Okay. So back in 1999, I was working for a wonderful cosmetic company called Yardley Cosmetics.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd been in cosmetics for 10 years at this stage. I started my career with Aramis, which is a subsidiary of Estee Lauder.
Okay.
So it started off as one of those spray guys in Melbourne saying, "Hey, would you like to try the new fragrance?" Being a single guy, it was a great way to meet a lot of women.
I can imagine.
Burke Street Mall.
I'm throwing back to some friend scenes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, very much like that. Anyway, so 1999, a friend of mine who worked in real estate said, "I think you should do your sales registration. I think you'd be good in real estate." And I went, "I don't want to get into real estate. I don't like real estate agents. I've had a couple of bad transactions myself, a couple of bad experiences." And he said, "All the more reason for you to get into real estate, so you can give good experiences to your clients." So I did my sales registration, as I call it, at TAFE in Paran in Melbourne. And the next thing you know, I started my career with Marshall White Real Estate in Melbourne, which is quite a well-known agency, a bit like the Acton of Melbourne.
Yeah.
And started my career there as a BDM, which was listing rental properties on the rent roll. And I must say it was a hard gig, but it taught me how to list and present to clients. And that's how I started.
Okay. And so then how did you end up as an auctioneer?
Okay.
Just missed the days in the Queen Victoria Market. And
you missed the days. Well, you'll love this story. This is a funny one because I became an auctioneer by default.
Okay.
So there was an auction in Albert Park, and I was the listing agent, and I was managing, this property for 3 weeks before auction anyway. About 10 minutes before the auction's meant to start, I'm getting a bit nervous because my auctioneer hasn't arrived. Anyway, so the auctioneer calls me and says, "Boyd, I've got a problem. I've had a major car accident. I can't get to you. You're going to have to call the auction." Well, I tell you what, my throat went as hard as a rock, and my heart's beating like a bloody racehorse. And the next thing you know, I've had to go out the front and do this auction. So I said, "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, "look, we've had a bit of bad luck. Our auctioneer's had a major car accident, and I will be conducting the auction, but I have to tell you that it's my first auction. So can you
Go
please
easy.
Can you please be gentle? And everyone, that's okay, Boyd. It's all right. We'll help you out.
How many people were there?
There was about 50 people there. It was a single front home, one of those little 1880 cottages.
Yeah.
So my tongue was dry. My heart was, as I said before, was going 100 miles an hour. But I got out the front. What happened? I went through the rules and regulations, sort of fumbled through that. Then went into a description about the property. I must say it was pretty bland. 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house here, ladies and gentlemen, with a small courtyard. So I was more sort of trying to focus on getting this auction done.
Yeah.
Anyway, before I even called for an opening bid, one lady said, I'll help you out, 400,000. And next thing you know, we're off. And about 5, or from memory, it's 20, this is about 18 years ago now, so about 6 bids later, we're on the market, we're selling. And I remember at that stage, the adrenaline that was going through my veins as an auctioneer, that I've got this property above the reserve. And I then started loosening up a bit and started becoming a little bit theatrical, and called it once, twice, 3 times and banged the hammer down and sold it.
My God.
Yeah.
So were your sellers were happy?
They were very happy. They were a bit shocked at the start that the auctioneer had turned up. So
Do you have to be licensed to do that?
that's a great question, because in Victoria,
Is that legal?
I'm glad that you say that, because it's in Victoria,
Yeah.
an agent or a sales rep who has a certificate in real estate for agent representatives, as they call it over there, can automatically do a license.
Okay.
Sorry, can automatically do an
Do an
auction.
auction.
My apologies, because they're actually a registered sales rep. Here in Perth, it's a lot different. You
Mhm.
have to be a licensed auctioneer to call it an auction.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That's
so when
what
I
thought.
arrived here from Melbourne, it was a bit different. I had to go through a whole sort of like licensing process,
Yeah.
which is very, very different to Melbourne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me about arriving here. What brought you to Perth?
Yeah, well, sort of my wife in those days, is originally from the Swan Valley, so we came over in 2007. We already had a little baby girl, and we had our second baby girl in 2009. But pretty much we came to Perth because, my wife was missing her
Home.
Yeah, missing her mum and all the rest of it. So anyway, came to Perth, and I was actually going to get out of real estate, to tell you the truth. I
Okay.
was 2007. I'd done it for 7, 8 years. I was pretty much going to be out of it, and maybe just do auctions as a part-time thing. And I got a call from an agency in Claremont saying, we want to meet you. And I said, look, I'm not selling real estate anymore. I'll do auctions, and met the principal of this particular agency, and half an hour later walked out with a employment contract to be a sales rep.
There you go.
There you go. So I wasn't,
Boom.
but then I did.
Yeah, okay.
Mm.
So how long when did you join Acton then?
So I joined Acton approximately 6 years ago.
Okay.
So in 2013. And it's been the best decision for me as an auctioneer, because pretty much I went from probably doing 30 auctions maximum per year. I'd love to have done more. But, obviously I was working for another agency, and I was listing and selling and doing my own auctions.
Yeah.
But I was too busy to do other agencies' auctions as well, because I had my own opens
Stuff
and
going
auctions.
on, yeah.
But then Acton tapped me on the shoulder and said, would like you to be the chief auctioneer. And it was a bit like sort of surfing for stubby shorts, and then Rip Curl taps you on the shoulder and says, we're going to sponsor you. Well, would you like to auction for us?
Yeah.
And that was life-changing for me as an auctioneer. And I went
Yeah.
from 30 auctions to, I think, a peak at one stage we were doing I was doing anywhere between 100 to 130 auctions a year.
Wow, okay.
So I think my record with Acton was about 5 auctions on a Saturday and 4 on a Sunday. So that was 9 auctions.
That's a big weekend.
Yeah, I was about as hoarse as far up after that. Couldn't speak for a while. A lot of people enjoyed that, actually. Including myself.
I can imagine. So when you came over
Yep.
from Melbourne, were
Yep.
you expecting, because auctions aren't as big here as they are over there.
Correct.
Was that the case when you first came over?
Yeah, even more so. So back in 2007, I decided to do a bit of due diligence and some reconnaissance around with auctions and auctioneers in the western suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget it. I went to an auction in Dalkeith, and I'll keep the agency out of it, but basically it was a hot day, 45 degrees. The flies were dropping dead out of the sky. It was terrible, and I'm waiting for this auctioneer to come out, and this old auctioneer's come out, and a bit of a crowd, nice house, and he went through the rules and regulations. Like, well, that's a good start. Then looked for an opening bid, and no one bid it. And then he cracked it, and he said, right, well, I haven't come all this way to come out here and do an auction in 45-degree heat. If you're not going to bid, well, that's your choice, but I'm going to sit under the tree and wait till you do. And that was my introduction to Perth auctions. And I was
Whoa.
whoa, is this the way they do it? And I
Yeah.
thought, well, this is probably why auctions aren't working too well over here. So that's when I really got into training and educating a lot of people, a lot of
Yeah.
agents about auctions and how they should work. And auctions, I have seen a real surge in the last in the market in general, the last 2 to 3 years in Perth Metro and surrounds. I've really seen a lot of agents use the auction process
Yeah.
to get property sold. And I think a large reason why a lot of agents don't use the auction process is because the offer and acceptance system that we've got here in Perth is very simple to use. And I think a lot of agents tend to lean towards a private treaty because it's quite easy to get a board on the market, get a board on the property, get the property on the internet and put a set price or a price range, whatever. But auctions are a lot more work. Auctions are twice as much work traditionally for the same fee.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely seeing across the board auctions are more prevalent. There's more education. At REWA, they're really pushing auction and there's a lot more training around it. So I think it's a matter of time when with an increase in the market and a bit more lift in the market and a lot more auctions, I think WA will brace auctions a lot more. I mean,
Yeah.
look at the election in Queensland, that slide to the Liberals. Who'd ever see that?
Yeah. So tell me why you think, I've asked this of a couple of our guests in the past, what is it to you that's the benefit of selling via auction versus private treaty?
Okay. So an auction as opposed to private treaty is exactly the same in the sense that a board still needs to go out the front of the property. Photographs need to be done by Crib Creative, of course.
Of course.
There you go. I just thought I'd throw that in.
Thanks.
That's
Thank
right,
you.
pleasure. It goes on the internet. So it's all exactly the same. You need to get brochures printed. But the thing about the auction process is it's a 3-week campaign. So it's traditionally 4 Saturdays. And the 4th Saturday is the auction day. And the great thing about auction that it tends to force people's hands, whether they want to buy before the auction, buy at the auction, or we find a lot of properties will sell soon after.
Yeah.
After the auction. So a lot of people think just because it didn't sell under the hammer that the auction hasn't worked. It's not true. The auction that I do as the auctioneer is an event that's part of the process.
Yeah.
To sell before, on, or after. And if I get a call from an agent saying, boy, we've just sold the property, it's a week before auction, I go, congratulations.
Boom.
Well done. It's
Yeah.
worked. It's
Yeah.
worked. Like I had one with one of my staff in Munster. She just sold a property yesterday. We put an auction date on it for 3 weeks. It sold on the first day, the first open, and it got well and truly above the reserve price.
Because they didn't want it to go to auction.
No, because a lot of buyers go, look, I want to buy it. What do I need to do?
Yeah.
And I want to buy it now. So they tend to put their best foot forward early.
Yeah.
And put hopefully what we call a terrific offer.
Yeah, okay. What do you love about auctions? Auction day, your day, the big day.
Auction day. Well, I love driving to the auction and a bit of AC/DC pumping in the car to get.
Is that how you prep?
Oh yeah.
Is there one song?
Thunderstruck.
Of course.
Oh, love it.
Don't picture you as a Thunderstruck fan, to be honest.
Well, I sort of didn't really myself, but I think actually my auction coach used to actually play Thunderstruck in his car, and I think that's probably why it's rubbed off 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But the thing I love about auction day is there's a certain excitement. Because I'm driving to the property, I've had lots of dialogue with the agent, obviously, prior to the auction day, and I don't know what's going to happen. I turn up, I've got my best suit on, of course, and get out of the car, and I'm all pumped. And I need to give that agent the best of what I've got to give. So I'm all pumped. I'm really the adrenaline's going. But I love the fact that an auction is like an open for inspection on steroids.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a crescendo. At the end of that open, we're out the front and we're going to call an auction whether we've got one person or we've got 100 people. It doesn't matter. And a lot of my best auctions have been one person's turned up. I've got lots of stories around those ones. Hysterical. But it only takes one person.
I guess so. What do you do to manage? Is it your job or the agent's job to manage like a seller's expectation if one person rocks up?
Okay.
Because I imagine here people are freaking out.
Yeah,
anyway.
look, at the end of the day, if the agent has done their job, the seller is quite relaxed with the process. The agents inform them all the way through the campaign, the interest, the feedback, any offers, price. So the seller's quite prepped, I would believe. But certainly when I come along as the auctioneer, it's almost like, to a certain degree, like the quarterback's arrived on the team.
Yeah.
So I'm the one that's got to throw that ball and hopefully get a touchdown for them. So at the end of the day, if we do have to sort of adjust sellers' expectations, traditionally we do that halfway through the auction if we've got bidding, but we're not sort of at the seller's reserve.
Mm-hmm.
I just go inside and speak to the seller and say, this is the situation. The seller pretty much is quite agreeable to what I've got to say because they're watching the auction. They understand. They can see. That's the great thing about auctions too. It's very transparent.
Yeah.
It's a bit like this room. It's like a fish tank.
Everyone can see what's going on.
Everyone can see what's going on as I turn around.
No one's paying any attention,
they're paying
though.
no attention to us. But basically, that's the great thing about auction, the transparency. The buyers can see each other when they're bidding or not bidding. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But the seller can clearly see what the market's saying.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me funniest auction story.
Oh, God.
Go.
Oh, God. The funniest auction story.
Craziest thing that's happened to you at an auction.
Crazy things happened to me at an auction. Oh, dear. The craziest one would be in South Melbourne many, many years ago. And I was looking for an opening bid, big crowd, and all of a sudden I hear, and it was a streaker.
Oh, God.
And a streaker has come zooming through the crowd with nothing on. And
how many people were in the crowd?
About 100. And I must say, I was a bit shocked myself, but I had to make a running joke quickly to keep it, quite positive. I said, well, ladies and gentlemen, obviously that man's a buyer, but I don't want to ask where his checkbook is. And the crowd cracked up and we moved on quite quickly. So that was pretty wild. But there's been lots of situations. The auction is like going into battle. You just do not know what's going to happen. And there's been lots of great stories, where I've sold a property for a dying lady of cancer, and I needed to get as much money as I could for her, for her daughter who was only 12 at the time. And I think in those days it was about 470 as reserve, and I got a 550.
Wow.
So
okay.
it was 80,000 above the reserve price, and walked inside when I'd sold it, and she was crying. We're all holding hands and all the rest. That was brilliant. And she passed, without putting a negative spin on the story, she passed away soon after, but she passed away knowing that she set up her daughter. Yeah. Which was brilliant.
Yeah.
And I felt great about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you do when there's one person at an auction?
I give them the best auction they've ever had in their life. A lot of the time, the person is by themselves, of course, and they're probably thinking maybe I should go. But I say, look, please don't leave. I'm going to give you an auction regardless, because I will always call the auction whether there's 100, and even if there's no people, I will always call an auction in front of the agent to keep it compliant. But I've had an auction in, where was it, in Spearwood, where there was one person that turned up as I was reading out the rules and regulations, and he said, have I missed the auction? I said, no. It's happening now. And he goes, do I need to register? I said, as far as I'm concerned, you've registered. And the listing agent looked at me like going, what is going on here? Anyway, I called the opening bid, 280, and he says, I'll give you 280. I said, thank you. And then we got the bidding going, and I was vendor bidding, which bids on behalf of the vendor. And we bidded against each other, and we sold it to him, not at under the hammer, which would have been nice, but we passed it and negotiated it straight after auction.
There you go.
And he was the only man that was there. So it only takes one.
Yeah.
Only takes one.
Only takes one to buy the property.
Correct.
Tell me, at the moment, when you're kind of educating your agents and things, I guess what's the mood about auctions now? You said before you think there's been an uptake. Have you noticed that amongst agents? Are they more open to it?
Yeah, I think it's education. With the Acton Group, for instance, I hold auction training seminars, and we go right through the listing process of an auction. So even right down to how do you fill out the paperwork? How do you fill out the auction authority? Right through how to get it ready for auction, how to manage the campaign, all the dialogue that you need to, because a lot of people will ask, what's the reserve price? What's it going to sell for? Why are the owners selling? Can I make an offer price? So there's a lot more sort of questions involved. And all the training I do also educates the agent on how to manage the auction day. Because auction day is a lot different, because you've got a lot of flags out there. Sometimes people got jumping castles and barbecues, and it's like Bunnings on steroids out there sometimes.
Coffee
carts and I've even had ice cream vans and stuff like that, which is brilliant. So there's a lot more involved. So I educate them all the way through. But it's interesting, all agents should know all methods of sale, and a lot of agents unfortunately only know private treaty. So I think they're doing a disservice to their seller if they don't put forward all methods of sale. And the great thing about the auction process is that it encompasses all methods of sales, because you can actually sell prior, so private treaty. Auction is like a sell by date or an end date sale. Yeah. But you've got auctioneers can do a public event, the tender process. It's all there. Yeah. So it encompasses everything. Yeah, yeah.
Tell me, you've been in real estate, 19 years?
Going on to 20.
Going on to 20?
I think I started when I was 10, don't you think?
Yes. I'm not going to lie.
Thank you.
Don't know. So in 2007, you moved over. You were ready to quit. Didn't want to do it anymore. What keeps you in real estate after all
Okay.
this time?
It's a good question. Now that I manage 3 offices, or manage 3 sales teams with Acton, and what I love there is helping these people progress, help them get through what we are. You know, we are in a very very tough market, but it's an opportunistic market too. So to help my reps or my staff to get through these tough times by teaching them new techniques and mentoring them and assisting them where I can, to me gives me a buzz. I love it. But what I love about real estate is the challenges that you have every day.
Yeah.
The people that you meet. I mean, over the years I've sold properties for celebrities, and I sold a property for the King of Nauru, and I sold a property.
Is there a King of Nauru?
There's a King of Nauru. Yeah, that's another story.
Okay.
That's a funny one. He wanted.
Go on then.
You want to hear the story?
Go on.
Okay. So it was in Middle Park in Melbourne anyway. I was in my office one day, and the receptionist said, "Boyd, you need to come downstairs. There's a gentleman to see." And I said, "I have no appointments booked." She said, No, you need to come down now, please. He's requested you." So I walked down, and there's a very large sort of Pacific Island-looking man, Polynesian you could call it, and wearing a Hawaiian shirt, a sarong, thongs, and a business jacket. And he had a security guard.
Business jacket.
Yeah, and he had a security guard with him. And I thought, okay, what's happened here? And he says, "Oh, Mr. Boyd." Mr. Boyd said, "Yes, sir. Yes, Boyd's my first name." He goes, "You sold a property around the corner from me. I want you to sell my property." As it turns out, he was the King of Nauru, and this was the Royal Melbourne Palace. This was the royal family's residence.
Okay.
It was a 1960s duplex apartment pair. So there was like two-story apartments, 1960 style, stuck together. Anyway, we took it to auction. The reserve was $5 million, and we sailed past that at 5.5. Went inside once we sold under the hammer, and he was there with his wife and his 3 daughters. And I think at that stage he was very excited that he wanted to marry me off to one of his daughters. So I could have been known as Prince Boyd of Nauru.
You said no?
Well, it was enticing, of course. You know, there's a lot of superphosphate on that island, hence why they were known, because they were known for bird poo. It was a superphosphate island.
Yeah, right.
That's where they made their millions of dollars of mining it. So that was interesting. But yeah, that one goes down in history.
There you go. There you go. So how have things changed since you started real estate? Of course they've changed, but what are the biggest, like maybe in auctions? Is that an area we talk about?
Well, auctions traditionally haven't really changed in the sense that you still have the auctioneer goes at the front. They have to read the rules and regulations, and they do that. What I'm finding with real estate is technology. Technology's changed. And what I'm finding is the expectations of the public.
Yeah.
Whether it be sellers or whether it be buyers. You know, in the old days when I would do an open for inspection, I'd write everyone's, name and number down. Now we've got Home Pass, which is an app that automatically sends them a brochure to their mobile phone, and the way that we relate to the buyers is a lot different. And I'm finding a lot of buyers traditionally want to be contacted by text or email. They're running busy lives, and they just want that information quite quickly. So that's the biggest change that I've seen.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Do you think the buying, obviously open negotiations come on the scene in the last couple of years as a...
Oh, that's a...
I know. It's a dirty word, I know. And I pulled that out without telling you I was going to.
Was that in the script?
It wasn't in the script, sorry.
Oh, my God, yes.
I just
me on
want to know
my toes. That's a good one.
I just want to know how you think that, is that a... Obviously, the auction's all about the theatre, but also the lead into it.
Correct.
And something like open negotiation doesn't have that, but it is the transparent process of negotiation.
Yep.
Do you think that something like that is going to have success in the long term? How do you kind of view that as opposed to the traditional selling methods?
Yeah, well, without getting into too much political issue with open negotiation,
of course.
They still need
I mean more the platform as a concept rather than
online
being
auction.
That specific.
Online
auction.
Anything with the word auction in it,
yes.
I love.
Yes.
Love.
Online auction. There you go.
Online auction, I love it. And they still have to use an auctioneer to oversee the process,
okay.
I believe. So the auctioneer is still very important when it comes to that. But, the process of auction, the way that I really sell it is the transparency. And basically that both buyers and sellers can see on a given moment, on a given day, exactly what's going on with this particular property or the interest. There's a lot of fear around auctions too. A lot of sellers and buyers feel like they might be under pressure or they might be induced to do something. It's not meant to be like that. the word auction is quite a known thing around the world. I mean, I ask people, when was the last time you bought something on eBay?
Yeah.
You bought something like that. That is an online auction system most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do charity auctions, for instance, at the Crown or something like that, the charity auctions are just incredibly competitive.
Mm.
They've got silent auction items down one side of the ballroom, and then we do the live auctions. And sometimes it just goes bananas. So they understand the auction process.
Yeah.
The public. But obviously, when you're buying a house, it's the agent's job to try and take the fear of buying and selling through the auction process, and that's where the agent needs to be quite educated.
Yeah.
And manage the fears and expectations of both buyers and sellers alike.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree.
Good.
Boyd, my last question for you today.
Okay.
It's a big one.
Is it? Shall I brace myself?
Do you have any tips on how to be the best dressed man in the room for all of the agents out there and to have the best hair?
Oh, that's so funny. Well, at my age, having hair is a bonus.
It's a plus.
It's a plus. I've just turned.
I thought you were 30.
Well, I've had a hard life. So, yeah. But a lot of people say, how old are you? So I'm 70, but I've got a great plastic surgeon. So it works better if I say 70. But no, I've just clocked 50 kilometres.
There you go.
50,
Congratulations.
50, thank you. And
50 rounds around the sun?
Correct.
I was going to say
something
the moon.
like that. I've done a few lunar landings as well. Don't remember that. But basically, the hair's been an interesting thing. If I can add something there, that when I started real estate, my director said, "Boyd, love your style and I love your energy, but your hair, you can't sell real estate with hair like that." And I said, "Why not?" Because it's very brash and it's very 1950s. And I'm like, "Really?" I said, "My hair?" I said, "No, I'm not changing my hair. If I have to change my hair, I'm not going to real estate." He said, "Okay, all right." So, believe it or not, I've actually got some listings because of my hair, because people have said, "We're going with you, Boyd, because of your hairstyle." And I said, "Why would you do that?"
There you go.
Well, a man that can carry hair like that is a confident man. So we want the most confident agent in the marketplace, and you're it. So
Can't argue with that.
can't with that. But no. I look, at the end of the day, I like to wear a suit and tie and a handkerchief. I think that you don't have a second chance at a first impression, and I think in an era that we're in where there's a lot more relaxed sort of professional styles, and a lot of people not wearing ties these days, that's all good. But I still think that the majority of the public expect real estate agent to be very well suited and well dressed, and they want that air of confidence and success about their agent, because at the end of the day, they want the best negotiator, and they want the man or the woman that can do the job.
There you go. I heard Guy Ritchie say something very similar once.
What was that?
Well, he said, the English gentleman, if you care about yourself, then you care about your appearance, and you wear a suit. And Americans are sloppy, so they just wear, sloppy clothes.
Yeah, correct.
Basically.
Absolutely. I'll tell you something else. What used to happen when we used to do the caravan or the stock run in Melbourne, they used to call it. It was always interesting to watch my fellow real estate agents get caught unawares when we had to do an inspection of a home on a caravan or stock run, and shoes had to come off, and you'd see the horrified looks. On some of these agents' face, because they would take their shoes off, and a few of them had claws hanging out of their socks. But I always made sure that if I did have a hole, it was sewn up nice and tight. So, yeah.
Your best pair of socks on.
Best pair of socks on, always.
There you go. Our final tip from Boyd Fraser.
Thank you. Always wear good socks.
No holes.
No holes.
Thanit's you so much for your time.
Thanks, Jess. Thanks
for having me.
Been a pleasure. A pleasure's all mine.
That's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. We'd love any feedback or guest suggestions. So hit me up on Instagram. You can find me on Jess @Crib. And if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe and be sure to tell a friend.